Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Emmy the Cat Lady, and we're back on the island for another Far Harbour Bestiary. So the final kind of major creature that is an enemy that you're going to run across in Far Harbour is the wolves. So we don't have wolves in the main game of Fallout 4, and they don't really show up in any other main single player game, but they do show up here in Far Harbour. So I've generated a little wolf pack with all the different types of wolves. So the grey wolf is known as Canis lupus, and it's the largest member of the family Canidae, which is obviously the same family that dogs are in: dingoes, coyotes, jackals, all these kinds of things. And actually domestic dogs and dingoes are sort of recognised as a subspecies of the grey wolf, and domestic dogs did originate from wolves as well. But the differences that they have compared to some of these other species is that they tend to have less pointed ears, a less kind of pointed muzzle, shorter torso and a longer tail. But they are closely related enough to the other canids like dogs and coyotes that they can interbreed with them and create hybrids essentially. So they have a double coat which is dense and thick in the winter and tends to have kind of white, brown and grey and black coloration, but subspecies that live closer to the Arctic tend to be a lot more white in colour. They do live in groups, so they do live in a pack which consists of a mated pair. They are monogamous and they mate for life, so they have a mated pair and then their offspring, and eventually when the offspring reach a degree of maturity they will potentially split off and start or join another pack elsewhere. But because of this they are extremely good at cooperative hunting, so they'll work together as a group in order to take down larger prey for them to share, instead of a lone wolf going after something smaller, although you do occasionally come across lone wolves who are kind of between packs, let's say. So they're in the process of finding a new pack to join, so they can survive on their own, but they generally prefer to stay in a group, although the concept of the alpha wolf is not quite how it works in practice. There's not such a strict kind of tier, and it's usually the parents of the group that are kind of in charge, but the whole alpha wolf thing isn't really something that we see in these animals, despite popular belief. But they are territorial, and fighting other wolf packs for territory is the most common cause of mortality in the grey wolf, so it's something that they do tend to fight a lot over it, and that can potentially be a problem because they do often control quite a large territory as a pack, although in some situations if there's plentiful food and prey to hunt, packs will kind of cooperate and kind of live together. That is something that we do see in nature. They're carnivorous and they'll feed on large wild ungulates or hoofed animals, so deer and that kind of thing, and they will hunt smaller prey as well, but they do eat carrion, which is things that have already been killed by something else, and livestock as well. So if it's an area where there is cattle or sheep or something that are being reared, then wolves can be a problem because they will attack the livestock. The other major kind of health concern with wolves is that they can be hosts to quite a number of important diseases that are important for both public health and humans and the health of domestic pets. Most importantly, rabies can affect wolves, same as it can affect dogs, cats, bats, foxes, and a whole range of other things, but they can act as a host for the rabies virus, which can be problematic. They can also carry canine distemper, canine parvovirus, and canine adenovirus, which is the cause of infectious canine hepatitis, and these are all serious viral diseases for domestic dogs. But they also carry brucellosis, Lyme disease, leptospirosis and intestinal worms, which again can be a problem for domestic pets, but these diseases can also be zoonotic and affect humans as well, so something to be aware of, that they can be hosts and sort of vectors for some of these important diseases. And brucellosis is something that's becoming a problem in the UK. There have been kind of reports that I've seen about it in the veterinary press, and that can cause problems for people that are immunosuppressed and things. So as I mentioned, because they're part of the Canidae family, they can interbreed with other canines, and there's often a wee bit of confusion about the kind of collective terms that are used. So canine is a term that's used to describe any member of the Canidae family, so domestic dogs, jackals, wolves, foxes, dingoes, all of these things are canine because they're part of the Canidae family. The term lupine is the one that's specific to wolves. So wolves are canine and lupine, while dogs are just canine, and foxes are canine or vulpine. So vulpine is the word for foxes. So it's something that I see people get a bit confused about a lot. So just to clarify, anything that's in the Canidae family can be described as canine, but lupine is the one that's specific to wolves. And they are often persecuted, and they have been eradicated in a lot of places. So in the UK, wild wolves have been completely eradicated for quite a long time, actually. And even large areas of the United States have eradicated them, and it's largely because of the danger that they pose to livestock. However, in the US, they are protected, and they have been reintroduced in a few places, so particularly Yellowstone and in Idaho. And there is a significant population in the Midwest around the Great Lakes states, so Minnesota, Wisconsin and Michigan, and as well as populations in the Rocky Mountains area. They had been eradicated from Maine, which is obviously where we are, but there's a significant population in Canada, and they are thought to be returning to the state. There has been DNA evidence in Maine from 2020 that a wolf was present, so they are potentially coming back. So it does kind of confirm that it's not out of the question for wolves to be here after the bombs have fallen in the Fallout universe, and we obviously encounter them here in Far Harbour. But unlike many of the species that we've talked about in this series, there's not really a massive change to the wolves. They look fairly similar. Size-wise, they're probably about what I would expect, maybe slightly bigger. Their coats are thinner, so they don't have quite as much fluff, so you can see a lot more of the kind of muscle definition, and they have got some skin changes there, some little kind of nodules and things, and you can see the muscle definition better, whereas in wolves in the real world you don't always see that muscle definition because their coats are so thick and fluffy. So thinner coat, which again, not a surprise, that seems to be the case for most of the animals that have fur in Fallout, that they've lost their hair. It's a known effect of radiation, so no big surprise there. And they are a bit more kind of bold and aggressive compared to what they are in the real world. Like most wild animals, I mean, they can be dangerous, but they tend to only attack people if they feel threatened in some way, and they feel that it's their only option to kind of deal with the situation, or if they're really, really desperately hungry. So they do still hunt in packs. I've created this, but you do generally in the game find them in groups, and they have a similar kind of attack pattern to the wild dogs and the mongrels that you encounter in the base game. So one or two of them will charge straight at you to keep you occupied, while the others will run around and try and get behind you and try and flank you to attack. So while they've not got a massive amount of, it's possibly a bit overkill actually, let's see, what have we got? Yeah, righteous authority, that seems better. So while they don't have a massive amount of kind of health and defence, they are good at getting on top of you. Oh, that one's decided to be friendly, nice. And then we've got the glowing wolves. So the glowing wolves are the most dangerous, so you can see they've got the highest defence, level 50. But even with that, if you get a good headshot or a critical, they're easy enough to take down. The rabid wolf, I nearly said werewolf there. The rabid wolf is the next highest level, and these ones have a much more aggressive behaviour, so they really wake up every morning and choose violence, probably because they have rabies. So just something to be aware of. These are the kind of higher level ones, and they are the most dangerous. They do have really high perception stats, so all of them have high perception stats, which means that, you know, unless you've got really good sneak, there's a good chance they'll spot you before you spot them, and they'll kind of try and sneak behind you to attack. So yeah, interesting. And otherwise their behaviour is largely the same as the wild mongrels and things, although I don't know why this one's friendly, but there we go. However, if you really want to have wolves, you can. So we're going to go and meet a friend on the island, so I'll bring you back when we get to where he is. Okay, before we go there, I just thought I've just killed all these guys so I can fast travel, but except for this one that seems to be friendly. This is the mutant wolf, so you can kind of see that there's some changes. Hi! They even do the little head tilt, that's adorable. You know, kind of definitely some changes to the skin and things, but yeah, this one seems to be friend. We're getting a waggy tail, getting the cute little head tilt that dogs like to do, which is just, yeah, freaking adorable. Right, let's head over to the location.
Come on out, stranger. This doesn't have to get messy.
Okay, where are you? Oh, he's down there.
Whoever's in there, you'd better come on out quiet.
Hello.
What were you doing up there in my camp?
Easy there, big fella.
Just looking
I was
around.
just looking around.
Oh, I'm plenty calm, considering you invaded my home. Look, I don't really want any trouble. I broke off from the group I came here with a long time ago. I just started seeing things differently when we came to the island, and I couldn't stand how the other super mutants act to humans. I keep to myself up here and train my dogs. Do a bit of trade with people too. At least those that don't open fire on me. Don't see any reason we can't do the same. Come on up if you'd like.
There we go. So this is Ericsson. He's a friendly super mutant with a little Deathclaw skull on his belt, which is pretty cool. So he came with the big group of super mutants that are at the Vim Pop factory on the island, but he broke away from them, decided that he didn't like just murdering humans anymore, and he now lives here and trains his dogs. So
You guys all right?
yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Sorry about pointing a gun at you earlier. I just get a bit jumpy when a stranger might be killing my dogs.
Fair enough. So yep. So this guy's friendly and yeah, he wants to trade. So yeah, you don't hate humans.
Why don't you hate humans like the rest of your kind seem to?
Started seeing things more clearly when we came here. Who knows? Maybe it's the fog. I just don't see what the point of us all killing each other is.
So sorry if you got any weird music in the background there. We have an ice cream van or ice cream truck, I suppose, that is obnoxiously loud and goes on for ages. So yeah, you train dogs.
Wow. Did you train these dogs?
Yeah, as guard dogs. Not all can be trained though. Most are used to being kicked or shot at. I can only manage a few at a time though. So unless I find a new home for one of them, I can't really take...
Okay, so I don't know what happened to that conversation there, but yeah, so basically he trains these dogs.
Nothing.
So you can see they all have names. So when you first come here, they have set names. So you've got a standard Canis Familiaris, you've got Mutant Hound called Gracie, and then you've got Mishka the Wolf. So these three are guard dogs that are available, and you can buy them from Ericsson here, and then if you take one of them and wait about a week in the game, he will acquire a new one to replace it, and they get randomly generated names. So quite a nice thing to have.
Hello again.
Hello.
Did you need something?
So you can buy Mishka, and she basically acts like any other guard dog that you would have at your settlements, although she does add more defence points to the settlement. She adds 8, I believe, but doesn't add anything to happiness, while the kind of standard dogs do. And that's the option. So let's actually, yes, hi, I would like to buy a guard dog.
I was interested in buying one of your guard dogs.
Which one would you like?
Can I have Mishka, please?
I'd like to buy the wolf.
Where did you want it to guard?
Can't go to Sanctuary. Where do we want to send her? Let's send her to Red Rocket. Yeah.
Sounds good. You take care.
Pleasure doing business with you, Erickson. Keep up the good work. So, yep, now Mishka basically teleports, I think, to Red Rocket Truck Stop. But yeah, so you can acquire a mutant hound here, and you can acquire more dogs as well if you want, but the fact that you can actually buy a wolf for your settlement is pretty cool. So yeah, that's the Wolves of Far Harbour. I do like that they were added again, you know, just having a different kind of variety of creatures, because we're in a different part of the country, we're in a different biome. It's really, really nice. It's interesting that, you know, in terms of mutations, there wasn't really a huge change in the wolves compared to some other creatures that we've come across, and some of the ones that we've talked about where things have massively changed. That's very kind of you, but yeah, there's something weird going on where he just keeps talking to me, so I'm going to leave for now, because he keeps dragging me into conversations. He does have a habit as well, if you're in the middle of a conversation, he apparently has a habit of walking away and cutting the conversation off, and it's a wee bit kind of buggy, so just bear that in mind. But I do think it's quite interesting that the wolves aren't really heavily mutated or changed compared to some of the other things. So let's head over to Red Rocket Truck Stop and see Mishka and her new home. There we go. So here we are at Red Rocket. We've got a junkyard dog, the goodest boy, dog mate, and here's Mishka. So yeah, she just basically, so this is where I keep all my dogs, apparently, on this save file, and some power armor. It says one person lives here, but I'm not sure who that is. It might be just a caravan-y person, but yeah, otherwise this is where all the doggos live. So if we have a look, we can defense 29, so you can see she produces 8 defense, dogmeat doesn't, and then the junkyard dog produces 5 defense but also happiness for the settlement, whereas Mishka doesn't give happiness, but she gives 8 defense points, so a wee bit more useful for defending. Not that there's really much here to defend, but this is where I like to keep the dogs. And now we've got Wolf as well, which is really nice. So yeah, cool new addition, and it is awesome that you can acquire them for your settlements just like you can acquire the dogs as well. I think that's a really nice touch. So hopefully you find this interesting. I say we're kind of nearing the end of the additions for Far Harbour, so next week we're going to talk about the creatures that aren't actually really enemies in any shape or form. We've got the rad rabbits and the rad chickens, so that's what we'll be talking about next week. And then, oh, there is a person here. Fair enough. So yep, next week we'll be talking about the bunnies and the chickens, and then that'll be us done with Far Harbour. After that, move over to Nuka World, because I think there's a few interesting creatures that have been added there. I know we've talked about a couple, like the Nuka Lurks and some of the ants and things, but we've still got to cover the gator claws, and then there's the kind of antelopes and the bramalophs and stuff as well. that'll be worth taking a look at. And I think there's quite an interesting chat to be had about some of the things that were kept in the safari adventure before the bombs as well, so that'll be something worth looking at. So that is kind of the plan for this series, next step. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Any thoughts or comments, let me know. I'd be happy to chat through things and hear your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.